teams, they protect the football. But I do feel like there's an advantage, but in no way would I say it taints all their Super Bowls. I wouldn't go that far. It's a rule that they broke. They just got caught. And it's just one of those things that there are a lot of rules. There's holding on every play. For example, you can throw a flag on every play against holding. You don't. Sometimes you do. It'll cost you a touchdown. It could even cost you a game. It's one of those things that happened. It's unfortunate for Tom Brady. I think it absolutely affects his legacy. But, hey, he got busted.
Panthers and Vikings caught during a game tampering with the balls, but no punishment there. So I guess
that was heating them up, right?
Let's be honest. A lot of teams and a lot of players try to do things to influence the game.
Right. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right?
It happens all the time in sports.
What is there an equivalent, anything in the NBA that would be like this? I don't want to say taking the air out of a ball, but is there something that you think guys get away with that maybe people like myself or Danny wouldn't realize? I
mean, I used to have Sam Cassell. It used to be so funny. When I would guard him on defense, he would hold me. He would hold my jersey.
Right.
And I was defensively, I'm like, wait a minute, I should be the guy holding your jersey from stopping you from moving. But you're holding, so you're a little bit taken back. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, Sam Cassell's hand is up your shirt. And he's throwing his arms up in the air. You're like, what, this guy's flailing? All of a sudden, he's in the free throw line. I'm looking at the ref like, I didn't even do anything. Right. And he did. He does it all. I mean, guys find different ways to make the game benefit themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Rice has admitted to using Stickum. But I don't think that affects his legacy. He didn't get caught. He didn't get suspended 4 games. Aaron Rodgers says he likes to overinflate.
Jerry Rice came out and said, yeah, I used Stickum during my career, which is clearly...
to me,
that doesn't affect his legacy if he comes out and says it?
No, I think Chris Carter was bothered by it, right? He wasn't real thrilled with it.
He was, yeah.
But again, it's one of those rules that's kind of a dumb rule, in my opinion. If you're going to let the quarterbacks get the footballs the way they like them, which they changed in 07, they said, you know what? You can get them, you can break them in, which is great. I love it. I wish they would have had it when I might have lasted another 2 games. I might have had a huge career. But if you're going to let them do that, why not let them inflate it to whatever level they like? It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense. Same thing with Stickum. Like, if you're going to say you can't use Stickum, if you guys have tried on the gloves that the receivers are using now, they stick to the football. Like, they've created, exactly. You don't need Stickum, but you have gloves. Like, some of these rules do not make sense, but it is a rule. And if you lie about it, again, the fact that you covered it up, you weren't fully cooperative with the investigation, that to me is why it was so harsh.
Is there any chance that, I know 11 of the 12 balls, correct, that were underneath the minimum?
And barely, not very much.
Okay, is there any chance that maybe those balls were taken down to the bare minimum before the game started? And when they actually gauge the balls, those are at halftime, that maybe due to the weather, those balls could be below?
That'll be the Patriots' biggest defense. Like, that's what they're going to come out and say, is that was the ideal gas law or something. There's an official name for the proper acronym for it already.
Gas law, the IGL.
The IGL, yes.
Yeah, of course.
There's some kind of acronym for it.
But here's my problem. If Robert Kraft comes out and he says, we were going to accept the punishment. We were going to, but now we're not because this is too harsh. Why would you say that? Because basically you're saying, well, yeah, we did cheat and we were okay with it if you were just going to slap us on the wrist. But now we're outraged. That doesn't make any sense.
We were hoping for a lenient punishment. Since clearly it's either fair or excessive, we're against it now. As always, you can tweet us using the 1-800-Flowers.com. Speaking of punishments and Roger Goodell, there's also this thought as to just the hypocrisy of the commissioner, the fact that he's not kind of playing at the same level playing field here. Jane McManus, who writes for ESPNW.com, big fan of that site. Prim in Spain, doing a great job as well on the radio as well. I know Sarah Spain writes for the site as well. Jane making the point about comparing Ray Rice and Deflategate and how this kind of, a little kind of awry.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that there is really no scenario under which Ray Rice would get 2 games for that infraction again. It simply wouldn't happen. The NFL has made a lot of headway when it comes to domestic violence in terms of the way that they look at it and also the penalties they give out for it. And I think you really have to look at Greg Hardy and the 10-game suspension that he was given. In many ways, these are apples and oranges, and you're grading the NFL on old math, let's say.
Because that comes up now, Danny, because people will say, okay, so the commissioner, rather, is trying to make up for the fact that Ray Rice's suspension was so widely criticized, universally criticized, so now he's overcompensating by now throwing the book at everybody else.
I think, and this goes to our point where it's comparing apples and oranges, and this is where I think Roger Goodell, this has been such a tough year on him, where how do you dole out these punishments? It just seems like arbitrarily he does, pull them out of a hat. I mean, where do you come up with these? I mean, it's almost like Oprah, like, you get a suspension. Nice. And you get a suspension.
You get a car.
But where do you go with it? It's not an easy job. Like, I'll ask you guys this, all right? Let's say you're Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
What do you give? What do you give Tom Brady, and what do you give the Patriots?
Yeah, I would have given 2 games.
And anything for the Patriots as an organization?
$1 million fine?
$1 million fine, yeah, because I think that's
go.
chump
I mean, do
change.
you take away their 2015 draft pick?
Yeah,
round?
the big one to me is the first-round pick. I would have done the first-round pick and not a fourth-rounder.
What about you?
And what was the Ray Rice suspension?
2 games.
2 games.
Which everyone's going to just crush Commissioner on.
I would crush him on it. I mean, you're talking about domestic violence compared to football being barely underneath the minimum.
But but go compare it to Greg Hardy. Because that's the more current according to the new rules. What would you give?
I would have gone 2-game suspension, and I would have got $1 million fine.
But what if it would have?
I would have taken away the first round.
Okay.
I would have probably
more in the first.
I would have probably stuck with the 4 games, anticipating 2, reduced down to 2.
Yep.
And I probably would have taken it easier on the team. Like I think, in my opinion, I do feel like Brady knew about it. I don't think Belichick knew about it. Like, it's just one of those things where the relationship between the quarterback and the equipment managers is something completely separate. It's the last thing on the head coach's mind. But if you want to stay consistent, if you suspended Sean Payton for a year and he claimed he didn't have knowledge of Bountygate, then you have to remain consistent. Say, hey, the head coach.
My only thing about all this, and I completely agree, I mean, there's no privacy anymore. I mean, it goes back to my original point I made before. I work for ESPN. I love ESPN. I love my employers. Would I want ESPN to go into my phone records and check everything?
Man, I want to know what's on his phone. I want to know now.
Wait, time out. This is a hypothetical thing I'm talking about.
I'm stealing Jay Will's phone.
You know what I mean? So there's a privacy factor there. And the second thing is that this is all speculation. There's no conclusive evidence. It's 51-49%.
Couldn't you sit? All right, so
I understand that, but you can always play devil's advocate to that.
Couldn't you sit down with your attorney and with the Patriots and pull things that exonerated you? If you're Tom Brady, like say, all right, here are my phone records, but I'm not going to let you see certain things if there are certain things in there.
Right.
But here is the evidence. I haven't texted at all with the equipment manager, or here are my texts to the equipment guys.
Right. Here are some texts. There's no text that I'm giving you which says, I told you guys to put the ball there.
Maybe he will do that.
Well, why haven't you? Like, why didn't you do that with the NFL? And I totally agree. If he didn't do it, he has to come out. And that's the one thing I agree with Shannon Sharp. Like, if you're asked if you're a cheater and you're not, you are adamant about not being a cheater. So why not go there?
You and Shannon Sharp joined at the hip.
Yeah.
I think it would have been fun showing the text messages with the Wells report, like, in the same meeting. So he's like, can I see your phone? I'm like, 1 second, I'll just show you the text. And literally go through each one and go, oh, no, not that. Oh, this is okay. Go ahead. No, it's fine. This is me and your Shamsky. Go ahead. Yes, it's fine. We're all good. Just kind of unilaterally pick out which one you want to talk to. Mike Reese is going to join us momentarily via the Subway Fresh Take hotline, and he is all over all things Patriots. He can offer some more clarity on the situation. But first, think about the time, money, and hassle it takes to hold a meeting. I mean, if there's one thing I don't like, it's having a meeting, right? It takes too long. So our recommendation, meet your clients and coworkers online with Citrix GoTo Meeting, because it's a smarter way to meet. GoTo Meeting